How niche local businesses become the recognized authority without ads. The secret is to become the trusted voice in your industry without having to constantly post on social media or send out large quantities of advertising material. Imagine your ideal prospects and they saw you every week. Imagine your ideal prospects seeing you every week in a position where it's important to them because you're not posting daily, but you become the trusted voice in your space. The most important thing is to be seen as the person who is reliable. An example of that might be an expert who you see on the TV, but you're allowed to able to do this on a local level. And it has nothing to do with the price, your skill set, the size of the business, or how long you've been around. It's not that difficult to become the most qualified person as far as your prospects are concerned, because you're the one that provides them helpful and useful advice. The important thing is before they ever need your service, they already trust you. Everything is about knowing, liking, and trusting. We make all of our decisions based on those three factors. The sale doesn't happen when you're selling to people. When you send out your advertising, that isn't when the sale happens. If they don't recognize you and they don't like you or they don't trust you, then you're always pushing the rock uphill. The sale happens way earlier when trust is formed. There are so many business that get likes, get popular comments on their Facebook pages, on their LinkedIn pages. They're posting, promoting constantly. But what they haven't done is they haven't created this trust with prospects. A quick one. Has anyone ever said, I love your content, and then never became a customer? Yeah, it's happened to all of us. The gap between visibility and trust is what makes that big difference. The authority in your industry isn't always the best. Remember that just because you aren't the biggest name in the city or the town or even the small village, it doesn't mean that you can't be the authority. The authority is the one that people keep seeing and believe and trust. The recognized authority, the name that everyone thinks of first, isn't always the most specialist, but they are the one that stays familiar. When people are ready to take action, they don't Google because they already know who they want to speak to. And the businesses they know, they already trust. So they're the ones that get the call. The, it's key to slow down and deliver your message on a regular basis in order to be able to be that the go-to person. People don't buy when you're selling, they buy when you're ready. When they're ready. Marketing fails when businesses try to convert customers when they're not ready. And this is what happens with most marketing and most advertising. Instead of waiting to collect their customer at the time it suits them, they constantly bombard them with more and more and more. Why don't you buy now? Why don't you buy now? Why don't you buy now? But the reality is between 1 and 2% of people at any one time are ready to buy. So therefore, you have to take that into consideration. It's all about building up this relationship with your client, and you can do this in a very easy way, which doesn't involve you having to spend hours on the phone or hours creating lots and lots of videos and things like that. So the real game isn't grabbing attention, it's grabbing someone's attention in a familiar setting. So when the moment arrives, you have their undivided attention. You're the only person they'll even consider. Familiarity makes selling unnecessary, and prospects become with a preconceived, oh, they're the solution to my problem. This is an example of a newsletter. As you can see, this is particularly for the Tampa Bay area and is actually for people who are buying and selling property in that area. This is how modern authority is built. It's a weekly expert content and it's shared publicly, tied to your industry, tied to your location. So instead of you having to create all of this information, it's all there and being produced for you. And also, it's in front of the ideal client all the time, and we help you build this through a period of a period of weeks or months. And at the time they're ready, then you have the client's attention. You're not advertising, you're leading the conversation. So you're involved in the discussions of what's happening in the industry that you're in, and also in your local area. You become the local hero. And because it's helpful and value, people want to share it, which amplifies your authority significantly. None of your own clients would even have a problem telling another client or potential client information that they find valuable. But that's probably the easiest way you could ever find to get a referred business. If you were featured weekly in front of your ideal audience, how would that feel for you? Would that change how you ran your business? Imagine having a pipeline of constantly interested people who've already bought into you from the minute you start talking to them. You could become the weekly expert as you grow your visibility, and you become the obvious choice. When you show up like this, that there is no alternative. People don't look to an alternative. You become the default recommendation. People don't even bother to probably look at quotes. Why would they? When they know that you're going to give them a good deal, you know that you're going to be able to give them the right advice, because over a period of weeks, possibly months in certain circumstances, depending on the property or depending on the type of business you're running, then they already know that you're the person they want to get that information from. Great thing is there's no posting marathons. And here's the best bit: professionals love, you don't have to keep posting every day or posting. If it's property, you don't have to keep posting constant listings, because you're not fighting to compete with other people. You don't have that problem, because you're now in front of the people who trust you. So you can just send them things and you don't have to ask for permission, because they've already given you permission by eating up the information you've been giving them over a period of time. So you don't need to pick up the phone and say, introduce yourself, etc., because you already are in their mind. It's just a case of the timing aspect of it. And usually they'll come to you because they know you're the right answer to the question. When you're positioned as the trusted industry authority, you don't need volume, you need consistency. And it's all about this round situation, the visibility. Once you have visibility on a regular basis in the right position, you have the authority that implies. Once that authority is in place, you then start to get inbound opportunities. You imagine that instead of having to spend hours banging out on the phone or sending out a sales team or all of these other things, you actually have inbound people actually inquiring to you, because you've shown them over a period of time in an easy and simple way that you are the absolute expert. When people feel they know you, they want to work with you. It's not a case of will they work with you, it's you're the one to work with. We call this the authority engine. And here's the system that makes this happen: we give you weekly visibility. You become indexed with articles and evergreen content. So you're constantly being found by people who are searching on Google, even people who are searching with AI. Index expert articles. So you are the article expert. So you don't have to necessarily be always creating new content. The content is working for you on an ongoing basis. Evergreen content that compounds. The great thing about evergreen content is that it compounds. It just keeps building and building and building and building. And you don't have to keep sending out the same thing, because it's already there on the internet and people can find it. And you can just send people links. When you send out an email, you can say, we wrote this great article about whatever the subject is. We wrote this article about whatever the subject is. Have you seen our article in the newsletter? It's helpful, but it's promotional. And promotional is brilliant when it's helpful. People want to read something that's beneficial to them. They don't want to be advertised to. And the other great thing is it amplifies your social position, both in your local town, but also in other ways, because you then become the person they keep seeing. So when you become seen in other situations, you'll find that people will recognize you, because they'll go, oh, you're the guy who talks about mortgages, or you're the guy who talks about vet care, or you're the guy who talks about, you get the idea. and you remain in front of your ideal audience. And even though you don't know them and they don't know you, they know you very well because they don't need you until they need you. But when they need you, they know you're the right choice. Clarity, trust, and inbound inquiries. This is a flywheel that creates momentum. When inquiries come to you, instead of chasing them, the emotional energy of running a business changes completely. Familiarity. Once people know who you are because they regularly see you in a situation that is helpful to them, they learn how to trust you. And the great thing is that brings inbound inquiries. But the best thing is that not only does it bring inbound inquiries, so you don't have to keep chasing people, but also it brings referrals because if somebody writes a great article on your behalf, then you are now seen as the obvious expert. So what would happen is your inbound inquiry, possibly a prospect, even a current client, might then send their article that they've just read and send it to a friend or a colleague at work or something like that. So you don't have to do all the pushing. Most of the work will be done for you because of the fact that you have this information in front of them. The one business per category. One thing that is really, really important is that when we create marketing, we don't want to create marketing that creates competition for you. You can't be the obvious second expert. It just won't work. Obviously, what we want is you to be the one person in your local area who's the authority on a specific subject. So that, as I said, that might be a vet. It could be how to get the right plumber. It might be something as simple as a decorating tip, which a decorator would then give you advice. And then he would say, well, look, if you can do it yourself, if you want to. However, if you want, I'm available to give you more tips and advise you, etc. The opportunities are endless. This only works when one business per sector per region. Otherwise, that authority just collapses. When we can't really have two mortgage advisors, two coaches, two estate agents who are the local hero. We need one, and we only ever let one person have one category. So therefore, they become the key point of the newsletter. If you're watching live and you want to know more about how this works, if you're watching live and you want to know more about how this works, just type availability in the chat and I'll let you check if your industry is available. This isn't a pressure tactic, it's just how familiarity works. Anyway, so as you can see, the opportunity to become the local expert is massive. And if you'd like to know more, just I appreciate you spending your time with me today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. And as I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you're thinking, um, possibility of things, well, how fast does this work, for example? Well, the reality is as soon as we start to make you the expert, you start the momentum, and momentum builds over time. It might be the first, as we said, there's only 1 to 2% of people ever going to actually do anything at any one time. But when that's being constantly fed and constantly built up, you're building your local status all the time. And you don't have to worry about the content ideas. That's all dealt with. And we just put your name to the article. Occasionally, we might ask you for ideas, something that you're aware of in the local environment, which would affect perhaps an article that you would like to create, but you don't have to sit there and work out the copy and work out how to create the article. It's all about how the articles in the newsletter can be created in order that you are put forward as the expert in your particular field. And what if you're somebody else in your industry has already got the visibility? Okay, so probably there might be people who are posting on Facebook, there might be people who are on Instagram, depending on your type of business, it might be LinkedIn. But the reality is consistency works, right? And you don't necessarily need to try and knock them off their pedestal. All you're interested in is appealing to your ideal audience. Most people who in an industry are just trying to get visibility, but visibility on its own won't work. You need that consistency and you need to be able to create a system where that is a two-way street. There is no point in constantly delivering more and more and more information if nobody is coming back to you on that information. And if you want authority and inbound inquiries instead of constantly chasing, check availability for your category. Whether you're out at the moment or you're unable to watch this live, I will be sending a recording to people who've attended today, and also they will get the first opportunity to be able to see if there's any availability. So I recommend that if you're interested in this, there's no sales pitch, there is no product to sell at this point in time. It is very much a case of if you're interested, I will let you know if there's any opportunity there and we can discuss.